Welcome to No Question About That. I'm Ed with Tom today. How's it going, Tom?
Yeah, good, thank you. I've just got back from holiday in Malta, so yeah,
lovely.
Very suitably refreshed over here.
I have not been on holiday, but I'm about to.
You're about to go tomorrow.
I'm hitting a plane tomorrow.
Lovely.
For the exciting climbs of London, Wakefield, Birmingham, Hampshire.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I can squeeze. I was hoping to squeeze in the Fiorentina game at Old Trafford. We'll see whether that happens or not. It's a random schedule. But anyway, we are talking about United versus Leeds in Stockholm at the Friends/Strawberry Arena. I don't know why they renamed it. Even for a pre-season game, that was really dull and lacked any intensity. And then we're going to talk about Bryan Mbeumo taking his medicals today, deal done, and Marcus Rashford, Ornstein dropping the bomb this afternoon that Rashford has agreed to go to Barcelona. Good stuff. All right. What did you make of the game today? Give me 5 things you learned about Manchester United versus Leeds.
Well, I mean, one of the main things I feel like I learned from the first 30 minutes is that we look exactly the same as we did last season. I don't hate watching friendlies. In a certain respect, I actually really like them, and in some weird way prefer it sometimes because there's no emotional investment. I'm watching my team play with pure interest at heart and pure love, I guess, and there's no kind of that really like horrible feeling you get, especially you get watching United these days, that oh god, something terrible is about to happen around the corner, and if something terrible happens to the friendly, you can laugh it off. So I don't mind watching friendlies, but that was difficult. The longer the game went on, it became more and more difficult to watch. But there were things to learn from it. There were things of interest, like especially Leon starting at left wing back. That was always going to be interesting, considering how no one listening to this podcast probably has watched him play a full game. We've obviously seen the YouTube highlights and everything, and yeah, but there's not going to be many people who've watched the Paraguayan league.
You don't?
I'm not
I
liars.
do. I have it on all the time. So, funny thing is, you can actually watch the Paraguayan league here because ESPN shows all of them. It's amazing. So VIX and ESPN show like all Latin football. So if you want to watch Paraguayan football, Ecuadorian football, definitely Argentinian football, which I do tune into sometimes.
Maybe I've really done a disservice to our listeners. Then maybe they are watching the Paraguayan league.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I have not. I've not. And as the person who you're listening, maybe I feel like a bit of a fraud here talking about Leon, but like It was interesting to watch, and there were a few times when he got caught out of position, but I like his intensity, and it was fun to watch him play. But I think that was, especially looking at the 11, I was like, that's what I'm going to watch today.
He is 2 minutes in, he followed the ball and not the man, and got done with a simple 1-2. Thought Luke Shaw tucked in very narrow, did him a bit of a disservice there, but I was like, welcome to the Premier League. Well, sort of. Ruben Amorim is not going to like that kind of tracking back. But he showed some good touches going forward, and he's obviously physically built for it already. I mean, 17 going on 30, isn't he? And he was sent off by his father saying, "Don't fuck this up, son." What a piece of advice there. Perfect. So who knows? I mean, I think the word had been that they wanted to test his level, see whether he'll be integrated into the first team or into the reserves to start with. He certainly won't be going on loan anywhere. And then there's a question about Harry Amas, who has not been included in the squad, and it seems like he'll get a loan, which won't do him any harm at all. I think the question with Harry is just he's not physically developed enough yet for the Premier League, which is fine. He's 17. David Beckham was on loan at Preston, as we've talked about, age 21, all of that. Players take their time. But a few encouraging signs from Diego Leon. I mean, there's so little in this game to I guess we could do our best to overanalyze the shit out of it for the sake of content, but there's so little to pick out. What I did like, second half, Lenny Yoro and Kobbie Mainoo both hitting the switch ball I was like, oh, they practiced that one in training. That's clearly been there because they both did it a couple of times. I'm like, oh yeah, they've been trying that one. It's what we want to see from 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄. I mean, Lenny, I've almost never been surer about a 19-year-old centre back that he's going to be top class. He's got everything. With 𝐓𝐶𝐄𝐄, we want to see more progressive passing, and if that's the instruction, he'll be great as that. In one of several options in the pivot.
Yeah. I guess one of the other things to really highlight is Cunha was good. And
There's some nice touches, weren't there? I mean,
really.
Don't go over the top, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's difficult not. It's difficult to hold yourself back at times when you watch these games. You're like, oh, reality check. Yeah, this is all it is. But you just see him there, and you're like, this is what we bought. This is what we paid for. I know there's been real question marks over our transfer market activity throughout the summer, and also with Cunha, but I like it. I think it's a really good signing. I think, like, quality wise, he just brings so much to the team, which is going to take so much of the responsibility away from Bruno, and we saw that in Bagsville today, even in just a short 45-minute period of time. It's just those extra moments of class and flair that is so lacking in our team, and that front three, I thought, in the first half did really well together. Like, I like Obi. I really do think he's got a lot about him already at such a young age. His touch is really nice. He had that snapshot on the edge of the box, which he probably he should have left to Junior, but I still like that confidence about him to just take that on the swivel on the left foot, a little bit like how he scored. I think it was the Hong Kong game, wasn't it, in the post-match friendly. And Diallo was great as well on the other side. I think that three, it was nice to see them was so dynamic, so much flair in that first 45 minutes for me.
Yeah, and Ahmad's nominally at right wing back, but really just joining the attack all the time, as you'd expect. I'd like to see more of that this season. It felt too defensive from the wing backs last season. It didn't look like the way Sporting used their wing backs, and if we see Ahmad there and Dorgu on the other side, I do like a lot of Dorgu. He's raw, but I mean that constant willingness to get into attacking areas and overlap and put balls in, even if it's not always the classiest thing. The thing I love about Cunha is his ability to carry the ball. I mean, he can go past two players, and that breaks up the block. Since Marcus has been out of the side, we haven't really had that. I guess Ahmad sort of does it in bits, but I think one of the things interesting with Cunha is when they get in the ball, because clearly he's building up to quite a heavy possession-based team, Amorim. We see this from Sporting. This is what he wants. He wants dominance of the ball, 60% possession. But I think they want to get Cunha the ball early. And of course you want him in high areas, but he's not going to get a chance to do the ball carrying if the opposition is already set in their block. And so it doesn't have to be transitions, but it's like move it through the thirds, quickly get it to him, and he will cause a lot of damage. But anyway, he's going to be a really nice addition. A lot of like snarky stuff about him and Mbeumo's XG over performance and blah 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 blah. He's going to get goals for United and assists, and he's going to help break down opposition that we've not been able to break down. Is he the top 3 best player in the world? Probably not, but it's an upgrade from what we had last season a lot of the time.
Yeah, and that's really frustrates me, that whole conversation about the Mbeumo and Cunha thing, and it feels I literally just before this call I read a thing in the Athletic about that, and I've seen so much of it on Blue Sky as well, but it feels like that's the only discussion point that these tactics people are even talking about with regards to those. Oh, United have overpaid again. United have seen the goals scoring charts with these two players, and that's what they've bought. Like, no one is saying, no United fan that I know is saying that Mbeumo and Cunha are both going to equal their goal scoring charts from last season. Like, that's not realistic, and that's not what we expect from these two players. Like, if Mbeumo somehow scored 20 goals next season, then we'll be more than delighted. But what we're expecting from them isn't just huge goal input. It's the danger that they'll create together alongside, hopefully. I mean, I was going to say hopefully another striker, but it's looking less and less likely that's going to happen, even though they have said that we still want to get a striker. But alongside Højlund, creating that potentially the space for him to operate also means that the responsibility on Bruno lessens. Like people, I feel, have they've seen this stat that these two players have overperformed their XG, and then they've just grabbed onto it and not kind of looked at the whole holistic picture, which it has been for me the most frustrating thing about this conversation.
There's nothing like Manchester United for bringing out dickheads.
Yeah,
I mean, just
true.
Platforming these people. Funnily enough, and I'm sorry for calling someone out, but Mark Stats, who does a lot of the automated post-match stats and graphs and stuff like that, and it's fantastic what he's built. Put a snarky one about, he said, smart data-driven clubs by bottom right, which is underperforming XG. The funny thing is, I'd had a back and forth with a coach in my DMs, and he was saying, actually a lot of data-driven clubs do look for underperformers on XG, and I'd mentioned this in relation to Garnacho previously on the pod, that a lot of coaches like underperformers because they think they can coach it, right? So the fact that Garnacho takes a lot of shots, gets in position, but then can't finish, a lot of people feel that's coachable. That's why you get a market value when buying those kind of players, whereas the overperformers like Mbeumo and Cunha, who are the two biggest overperformers in the Premier League, tend to command a premium, and it's fair enough, right? You can be snarky about that, but in United's position, we can't score goals. We scored 44 in the league last season. They had to do something about that. They went early on Cunha. That set the market price, and so we've paid a little bit too much for Mbeumo. We've paid a premium on both of them. I think it's fair to say smarter play might have been to do Mbeumo first, not set the market price, and then Cunha, but who knows whether that made a difference. Problem is, when you buy from the Premier League, and I totally understand why the club was like, we want to focus on Premier League baked and ready, no risk, not another Rasmus Højlund where we don't know how much adaptation there needs to be, but we know the level we're going to get from them, and nobody in the Premier League needs to sell, right? There's just so much money there that unless it's for PSR, shenanigans, they don't need to sell. Brentford are doing fine. They've got this new ownership group coming in. They're going to have some more investment. They've already lost their manager. Relegation's the worst thing that can happen to them, so they better be careful not to do that. So if they're going to lose their best player, they want a premium. You can kind of understand how it played out the way it did. And the conversation on Twitter was all like, oh, United can't do anything. I mean, there's other things in the way here, which is we're, for all the reasons I've just mentioned, trying to extract players from clubs who don't want to sell, right? So we've paid a premium, but it is going to upgrade the team.
Yeah, and there's only so much you can do in the present, and because of how much the past affects us, like because of the position that we are in because of years and years and years of incompetency, there's only so much you can do. Like if Brentford don't want to accept whatever it is, especially considering the fact that they've lost Thomas Frank, they've lost their centre mid to Arsenal. Wissa was looking like that it was going to be either Mbeumo or Wissa. Like they weren't, like you say, they weren't in a position where they needed to sell. They were going to probably end up selling one of their two forwards from last season, and they were going to go with whatever highest bid they could get to. And you might see loads of people saying United tax, and we might see people in the comments and on Reddit or on Twitter in the United forums or whatever saying United tax, but there is only so much you can do. And like you said, maybe we did play it the wrong way around, but what's to say that it would have come round and Wolves would have done the similar type of thing?
Well, I mean, they had the release clause, but
and it's also 5-10 million over. It's not the end of the world, and if he does end up having a really, really good season, he's 25, 26 in September, I think, or in August. He's got a lot of longevity in him, and I think it's not the end of it.
It's a bit much, but I think we'll see probably the strategy I thought would play out this summer, which is younger players. But I mean, they've made the decision to remove those 5 players. They lost 4 on contract expiry and then retained 2 of them in different roles, presumably on lower wages. So they've actually, and the summer before, they lost a lot of players as well. So they've restructured the wages quite a bit. And Marcus Rashford going to Barcelona, will apparently paying 100% of his wages will help that. Again, we were going to be quite a bit under 200 million in wages. So they've now got a bit of room. Now they've got their 2 big signings in to do a bunch of other deals. And I think we'll see another 3 younger-ish players coming in. I'd be surprised if it's another big premium one, unless they get a mega fee for 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐒, and then they're probably in a position where they can then go spend big. Just depends. That would be the one that would bring in cash. United were okay from a PSR perspective, despite what you may read from some, let's say, Arsenal accountant fans on Twitter. I think they're all right on that one. The cash was the problem, and there's no way of injecting more cash that's not debt, right? So Jim is not going to do it without equity. The Glazers have no incentive to release more equity that goes to the club and not to their own pockets. We're capped out on owner funding anyway, so cash has been the problem. They've got the Bank of America credit line that they can spend. Omar Barada keeps saying we're going to live within our means. These things don't fit together. So, add 2 and 2 and you get the 5 of we probably need to sell before we buy any more. And those more will probably be on the younger side. But, hey, who knows? They may surprise us again.
Yeah, and what is it we need? I think
a striker, a midfielder, a goalkeeper.
I think that they are the 3 for sure. And I think today, even though it's a friendly, you just see, especially first half, you see those gaps in the midfield. There were times where Leeds were just running through us quite easily, and also it's just a lack of control that we get in centre midfield. And like you said earlier about Cunha having to drop deeper to get onto the ball, he's still going to need that pass from the midfielder into him. You can't just keep collecting it off the defence all the time. There's going to have to be. We need to buy a controller. We need to have someone who's going to be able to control games, and also we need legs in there. And I just don't think that Bruno and Casemiro are going to be able to do either of those jobs. I think Bruno's got it to a certain degree, and there is a part of me that thinks, I wonder if he can settle down as a controller. I just don't see it. Casemiro was really good at the end of last season, but still not good enough. I mean, you look at how good, say, 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐒 played in those 2 post-season friendlies, and you're like, that is what we need. But I say 𝐓𝐶𝐄𝐒, who's 3 or 4 years older and with more experience, and it's going to be so difficult to get that type of profile, or the type of profile that we need in any case for that centre midfield for the money that we have. And also, like you say, a goalkeeper and a striker.
Yeah, well, there may be movement on the goalkeeper front. I mean, the talk about Emi Martinez won't go away. I'm not honestly sure he solves the problems. He makes as many, if not more, mistakes. I mean, the data shows it, than Onana, but he's got the confidence and arrogance, and anyone who fucks a golden hand in front of a billion people on TV has a bit of BDE, doesn't he? So, I mean, so I guess maybe that's. Yeah, who knows exactly. Midfield is the balance that I worry about. I mean, they're all talented in one way or another, but I can't pick. If we're going to play with 2 in there, if he's not going to switch to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or some variant of that, which obviously he's not going to do. The squad is still brilliantly set up for that, but he won't do it. So if it's going to be 2 in the pivot, I can't pick 2 of them that balance each other well. I mean, they've all got their qualities, and Bruno surprised me with just how much control or controlled game. I wouldn't say he had control over midfield, but how much he controlled his game. At number 8 in the back end of last season, it wasn't all Hollywood wall and looking for the killer pass every time. But he's not going to do the defensive covering bit, even if he's got lots of legs and will tackle and press and headless chicken energy and all of that. I don't know whether he's got the defensive nous about him, which means that the other player alongside him in the pivot has to do a lot of that covering, has to cover a lot of space. And 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐂, if it's him, he's got the energy and the legs. He doesn't have anything on the ball. When he shanked his first pass today, I was like, oh God. I don't know that they can coach that into him, so he's half a player there. Kobbie Mainoo, it's the progressive passing, it's the bravery on the ball, the physicality. It looks like he's bulked up a bit again. So and that was the reporting, wasn't it? At the end of last season, they were going to do a special training, regime to get him stronger, fitter, more endurance, all of that, so his body doesn't break down when he plays 10 games in a row. Maybe he becomes that all-rounder that we don't have, because he certainly can control it from a possession point of view, because he's brilliant. So pressure resistant. There's hardly anyone who's as pressure resistant. But we don't have a Toni Kroos or a Frankie de Jong who's will do the smart thing with the ball every single time, right? There's just none of them that will do that, and so we'll never control those games.
No, and that is something that English clubs in general just don't produce. You look through the history of English football, there's so few English players that are ever produced like that. And I think that with Declan Rice, the way that I used to think that he was going to be a sixth, going to be a person who sat in front of the defence and potentially controlled the game. He had the physicality to do the defensive work as well. But what happens, especially with English players, and I think this is therefore probably coached in the academy as well, that if you are good enough technically, they want you further forward. And the same with Declan Rice. At Arsenal, you hear the people like Lampard, Gerrard, the pundit class talking about, if Declan Rice is going to take it to the next level, he'll add 10, 15 more goals to his season. But actually, you never said that about, I don't know, Sergio Busquets or Xavi or something like that. You didn't say, if Xavi's going to be one of the best players in the world, he needs to add 15 more goals. You need to have controllers, and I think United are no different to the rest of the clubs in England in producing that type of player. And it's also, I guess, a mentality thing. If you're an English player trying to come through, are you really going to want to become like Sergio Busquets or Xavi? To a certain degree, but if you see people like Gerrard and Rice getting all the headlines because they're scoring goals, that's what you almost want to be. So in terms of academy, it's difficult to produce that type of player. Mainly isn't. And then you think that someone like Bruno, you think, in terms of his skill set, he potentially does have all the ingredients to become that type of player. But at 30, 31, how is he ever going to be as good, despite him being a coachable player, despite him having so much time on the training ground, so many different discussions with Amorim on a day-to-day basis? How is he ever going to be as good in that position compared to someone who's been playing that way since he was 16, who's come through like La Masia or whatever? That's the problem we have. You'd have to buy that player from abroad and bring them in and put them in that position. And
it's an interesting point. I mean, probably not since Scholes have we had someone who's
and even Scholes, Scholes went backwards.
He went backwards, in terms of place on the pitch, yeah. It's
not in terms of quality.
no, God, no. Could still ball at nearly 40, of course.
Yeah.
The closest player to that kind of controller, brilliant controller, if that, Busquets, Kroos, Modric, Xavi, this kind of style of player is Miles Lewis-Skelly at Arsenal, who started left back but inverts and is just a brilliant central midfielder. And it'll be interesting whether your theory there holds. Will the temptation to be because he's so good on the ball to move him into midfield? Which I agree with you. Declan Rice started as a central defender, remember?
Yeah.
And if you remember back to Rio Ferdinand, well, you might not because you're 12. But you remember back in the day, there was this guy called Rio Ferdinand, and he was so good on the ball that everyone was like, the pundit class were like, oh, he's got to play midfield. And so I do agree with you. There is something of the English disease left over. Yeah.
Trent as well. I mean, I think Michael Carrick was an expert at controlling the game. But even then, like for England, he barely played, was massively underappreciated. I think in a certain, especially the people who I used to hang around with, but I was a lot younger back then, he was definitely underappreciated by a large section of the United fan base as well, because of the type of player he was. But we watch any United game from that era, and you just see Michael Carrick, you're like, oh my God, I'd love a player like that right now.
Oh God, I mean, Michael Carrick could probably play in this United midfield now, but he was so good and underappreciated. And he was so good that, of course he was in that era where United were, 3 Champions League finals in 4 years. If you pulled Michael Carrick out of that United midfield and dropped him into the Barcelona midfield, he'd have fitted in seamlessly.
Yeah.
Right? Completely seamlessly. And he was underappreciated. And I do think there has been a change with the elite player performance plan and the kind of level of technical players that come out of Premier League academies now. They are all a little bit identical in how technically good everyone is. But it is interesting, and you're right to say that there are not a lot of those deep-lying, controlling midfielders made in English football.
And that's why 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄𝐿 came into the England squad not that long ago, because 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄𝐿 was looking at the profiles that he had at the under-21s and thinking, we don't have that much. And even though he's only playing at Lille and not even that, like, he's not like he's incredible every week and all the best clubs in the world are after him, it's because he was one of the players who could fulfill that role. And I don't think if you look at the England team again, I think that's going to be another one of the things that the World Cup in 12 months' time is going to be another one of the problems.
Yes, working out there, because you've got Rice, who keeps pushing forward, and Bellingham, who really is best operating as that third man runner from a very high position. So the balance there will be tricky for Tuchel. He will definitely want to have 3 in there, I know that. But for United, I guess that conversation started with what is our balance. And I agree. If we head into the season without buying another midfielder, either a controlling player or a big bastard, or maybe both in one, although it's always hard to get. It does feel like we have the wrong balance in there, and I'm sure Amorim is worried about that. The other thing, which is just obvious, because Chidobe is still a bit raw, he's ironed out some of the technical edges, though.
Yeah,
I think the thing you always saw about, he's a bit clunky, he's quick, and he's he obviously wants to take every shot possible, and he's a very good finisher. And it was just the roughness around the edges on his all-round game. Irons that out, he's already a better player than Rasmus Højlund, right? Who is still at the club only because his book value is still very high, and it's very hard to, so we can get him off the books but lose money effectively in PSR terms and not being able to reinvest it. And so it's like in one of those, it was such a bad deal that we're fucked on the way in, fucked on the way out, right? There's just no way of resolving that properly. The only way of resolving it is for him to be brilliant this season and score a bunch of goals, and there just seems absolutely no reason to believe that will come true. And United would have sold him like months ago if they'd had the opportunity and got the right deal. And I think everyone in football biz knows that they are actively marketing him around, but it's getting someone to pay the 35 million or whatever it is we need to meet his book value. It's really hard, right? But there's an opportunity there for Chido. If he's really good on this tour, we've got 3 games in the States and then one against Fiorentina at Old Trafford, he could force his way into the team. I mean, he is raw, but is he going to score fewer goals than Rasmus Højlund? I don't think so.
No, and he was really unlucky last season with not being registered for the Europa League, because I think if he was, then he'd have got so many more chances both in the Premier League and also in the Europa League, and it just felt really sad watching not seeing him play, because every single time that he did play, especially in that Arsenal, was it the Arsenal game? The game of the Cup, I think it was, where he came on and he was just really live. No, it wasn't the Arsenal game, it was the Fulham game. And I remember Leno making a really good save from him, and then after that we barely saw him, and I think it was just because Højlund was going to be the striker in the final, and he just had to keep playing and to try and give him some kind of confidence, but it just didn't work out. And
still rankles, that final still rankles.
It really does. But it's interesting. I don't know how much to read into the team today, but it's interesting that he did start with RB. Yeah, you might say the same about Leon or whatever, but most of that team today was probably maybe the best team.
Except for the back three, but yeah.
The back three, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got 25 players or so, got some game time today. That's what these games are about.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what the mix is going forward. The mix that we haven't talked about the back three, because we started with De Ligt, Shaw and Mazraoui. I thought De Ligt was very safe with his passing. Shaw kept tucking into midfield, which was a bit odd because he left loads of space behind him. So
was that the Europa League final lineup as well? I'm just thinking.
Was that the back three that started? I can't remember now.
I remember
Shaw started, and I haven't got over that because he was fucking dreadful in that game. But
I remember it being the three that had never started together before that game as well. I don't know if it was those three.
Got everything wrong in that final. Everything, from the start up to the changes to the formation to the tactical approach. Everything went wrong. Just everything. Just terrible. Anyway, the back three in the second half, which was Maguire, Yoro and Heaven, is the one I'd like to see much more often. I mean, I love Mazraoui as a footballer and an all-round footballer, and I'm sure he'll play a lot of games in the coming season.
I just made that up.
But I don't want him as a wing-back.
Sorry, it was Maguire, Yoro and Shaw.
Maguire, Yoro and Shaw, right. Yeah. I want to see Yoro start every game, because he's obviously top quality. And I'd like to see Heaven start a lot of games. I don't know whether he has to play every single game, but I think without Lisandro Martinez until January, he's one of the players who's going to be able to progress the ball because he is very good on the ball. Maguire, I don't mind playing in as that third, the central, the CCB, as the kids call them these days. Really winds Starnish up, that one, so I'm going to use it as much as possible. So.
But why not just say CB though? Why? Because you've got an RCB and an LCB. Why do you need the CCB? It's like when sometimes I think in America
it's redundant.
The American tactics nerds always put like a 1-4-2-3-1 to just signify the goalkeeper. Why?
Yeah. I don't know. Why?
Sorry.
Americans and football.
Yeah.
Why? Sorry, American friends. Yeah, I mean, it's as much as we can play Yoro and Heaven, I think it bodes well for the future. Obviously, Amorim will try and get the right mix there, but it's just the ability to progress out of the defence. It's not just the defending piece, which I actually think for the most part was decent under Amorim. It's can you move the ball quickly enough through the thirds to disrupt the opposition? Well, first their press, and second their defensive structure, and move it forward so quickly that they can't drop back into that low block. We could not do that at all ever last season. And if you play De Ligt and Maguire, it's not going to happen. De Ligt is way, way too safe for his passing. Maguire's good with his passing, but very slow with it. He just does not make decisions quickly. And for that reason, I don't want to see those two together very often unless we really have to, unless it's one of those box defending games at Anfield or the Emirates or wherever, where we're not going to get a lot of possession next season and we have to do a lot of defending. Other than that, I'm looking to the future and trying to build a team that can control the game, and it starts at the back. So.
Yeah, and Heaven is so important for that as well, especially in a three. It feels crazy that Arsenal let him go because the left centre backs are just so rare, and he even today as well. There were just times of class where he's being pressed and he looks so calm, so assured. He did a little swivel. I think maybe Dan James was closing him down and he just took it onto his left foot and just booted it away. And not even just like a boot away to no one. It went straight to Højlund. Our transfer committee get criticised a lot, but he is a beautiful find.
1.5 million, mega bargain. I mean, Arsenal didn't have a choice. He's out of contract, so it's a training thing. All right, we managed to do 35 minutes of conversation basically about the game, or sort of the squad and the game. We haven't really talked about Bryan and Mbeumo. 65 million plus 6 in add-ons. I mean, we talked a bit about the price, but what's he going to bring to the team? Obviously, 20 goals last season, direct running, really nice left foot, ability to both make the final pass and the final cross, I think. Fuckloads of energy. I mean, he's gonna add a lot, right?
Yeah, I also saw when we were first getting linked to him, I think Athletic ran a couple of pieces about him potentially being considered as a 9 for United as well. He obviously played a lot for Brentford as part of the 2
with Wissa, yeah.
With Wissa, yeah. I don't think he works as a 9, and if we are seeing him as the number 9, it would be absolutely crazy. He is, like you say, because he runs with the ball, he's so much better facing the goal rather than back to, which we would need our striker to be very good at. And therefore, sitting alongside Cunha, he is really good at progressing with the ball, but he is more of a creative type, especially like he's got really lovely soft feet, Cunha. And I think especially when you watch today compared to someone like Garnacho, who's so short bursts, a bit harder feet, if he's trying to run with the ball, he'll burst past people, whereas Cunha glides and silks and smooths and can, on the edge of the box, he can play that delicate little pass. And I think with Mbeumo being quite different from the other side, hard runner, a bit more physical, quicker, I think those two will really, really perfectly complement each other. I think you also see when Mount came in today that in terms of just the class, the ability to move the ball quickly, how the drop off that was compared to like Cunha, he's going to be very far down the list. I think if Bruno's going to be the next one in behind the 2, and then you've got I think Ahmad, who can play very similarly to Mbeumo on that other side. So I feel like you have your top 2 now of Cunha and Mbeumo in that position, and then if Mbeumo is injured, then you bring Ahmad into that position, similar type of player in terms of profile, not exactly the same, and then you've got Cunha who can be pushed out for Bruno, and I think that also really helps the squad. And that continuity, that when someone comes out, you're not the whole system doesn't fall down because that player is very, very different. Whereas last season there were so many games where you bring 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄 in for Bruno, or you bring Mount in for Bruno, or you bring Kobbie Mainoo into that position, and you bring Ahmad, or you bring Garnacho, you bring Rashford at the start. Like, so many different types of players into those positions. It just means you've got no continuity, you've got no style, you've got no pattern. And I think that what those two bring in, that just did their difference, and also how they fit around the other members of the squad, I think also really, really helps. And yeah, I'm really excited. I've been really excited about this since it was first muted, and I would have been pretty good if we missed out. And I think the talk about him, his XG's been really, really high this season. Yeah, obviously he was the 4th top goal scorer in the Premier League last season. That we're not going to expect that to happen. I don't think any United fan is expecting that to happen next season. If it does, wow, amazing. But I think there's so much more to Mbeumo's game than just goals.
Yeah, I think it's good summary. I'm really looking forward to him. I liked him a lot as a player at Brentford. Obviously it's a bit of a premium, but he's a high quality addition. Yes, I think you're right. Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo, Ahmad. You've got 4 really high quality players for those 2 positions behind the number 9. I'm not sure exactly where 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄 fits into this world, given that he's not really a number 9. Doesn't quite fit in those positions. I like a lot of what I see of him, of course, but it's just not quite enough. If there was a bid for him now, I'd probably take it. Or at least one of him or Mount. I just don't see why we need both of them. I mean, Mount has got to have a market out there somewhere. I mean, we paid a very large fee for him, for a player who's in the last year of his contract. And I'm just not sure, given that Amorim's so reluctant to play him as 8, and all coaches are, I look at his technical skill set and I'm like, surely he can play as an 8. But every single coach he's played for has refused to play him there. So there's something about him that I'm not seeing. So his only option really is in one of those 2-10 slots. And you're right, he's 5th choice, maybe even 6th with 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄. You know, I wonder if there's a club out there, given the what we need a striker and a big bastard central midfielder. Could we not send Mount and Garnacho to Aston Villa and have Onana and Watkins in a swap?
Yeah.
And it's one of those football manager swaps here. And not that I've played football manager for 15 years, but that would suit all parties, I would say. I mean, yeah. Come on, Christopher Vivell, pick up the phone, see if you can do the deal.
Yeah, and you wonder what's going to happen. The problem is that everyone knows that we've got 5 players who are outcasts in the squad, and I like Amorim a lot, but he can be too honest. And the way that this Garnacho fallout has happened is just it's so bad. It was worse than the.
It's going to cost us 10 or 15 million pounds in a transfer fee.
Yeah, you just got to be a little bit more composed. You've got to be a little bit smarter. You've got to be less emotional with the way that
well, look at what Chelsea did with Noni Madueke. They're obviously keen to sell. I think that's been for a while now. Maresca has been keen to sell him. They went through that thing a year ago where they had the bomb squad. It didn't really work out for them. I think they've learned that, you know, you keep your players in the squad. And Garnacho is so disruptive. Like, to have him, just merely have him around on the same training field is a problem. But I just don't even believe that's true, because he went on the tour to Hong Kong and Malaysia, you know? Yeah. Like, you know, he was there in all the photos sticking his finger up at supporters. And so I just don't quite get it. Now, if Amorim had said, hey, he's not the style of player for me, or they've fallen out in some fashion, fine. And players have moved on from clubs every single year. Better players than him have moved on from Manchester United. There won't be too many tiers. You know, the two things I've said all along that I think are a little odd, that in our financial situation, you want to make a bet on young, high potential players that haven't quite made it yet. So, like, really, you would not want to sell this kind of player typically. Yeah. And if you're going to sell them, don't make it so fucking obvious that you want to sell them that you push the market price down, right? And so we could end up not getting a very good deal for him, where he's the one, because he's on lower wages, that should bring in a big fee, because we've narrowed the market, we've deleveraged ourselves. He apparently wants to stay in the Premier League. There are only 4 clubs that can pay a big 4 or 5 that can pay a big enough fee that would feel like good value for us, and they don't all need a wide player, because Chelsea have 17 of them, right? So it's like the market suddenly got very narrow for a player who should have a really big fee, but because for all his raw edges with Garnacho, he is a willing trainer, because he's been in trouble before and come back from it. So that tells me that he is able to learn something. He is a child, but you hope they mature. You know, that social media stuff that winds fans up, I don't know how much coaches care about it. And he, you know, with his 21 goals and assists last season, that placed him 3rd of all teenagers in Europe, behind Desiree Doué and Lamine Yamal, right? And it's not to say I think he's as good as those two, because right now I don't think he is, but you never know. But it's to say he should command a really massive fee, because getting a player at 20 who can do that is a very, very, very rare thing, right? So, and we might be in a situation where we end up loaning him or getting a lower fee than we should do, because the club as a whole has not handled this super well.
And that's also going to be the same way for probably Jadon Sancho, and as we've seen today, for Rashford as well, because in a lot of respects, this Barcelona deal, which is going to go through, that sounds like Barcelona are going to pay all of his wages, but it's again another loan with only an option. It's a loan with an option, but although we're not subsidising another club, they are taking our player who is an asset for nothing on their P&L. So they're just paying his wages. Now we can say, because it's so massive, it does save us £15 million a year. Funny, on a side point on this one, because I've mentioned this before. So Ornstein today reported that it's $325,000 a week that Barcelona are paying. I don't know whether they mean that's his gross wage, assuming the Champions League bonus, or that is his wage without the Champions League bonus, which would mean his wage last season with the European bonus is
or the season before, whenever we were last in the Champions League, was 400,000 a week. Now, given the United's wage bill is about 180 million a year, are we really saying that United are paying one player 13% of our gross wages? That is not how football clubs work. I've said it before, I just don't believe it, but it keeps getting reported. Like, football clubs do not work like that. When they have 25 or 30 pros in their first team squad, you don't spend 13% of your wage bill on one player. Anyway, that's just an aside. I could be completely wrong about it. It's not a big deal, but Barcelona are paying the wages but not a fee, which means they're basically getting a free player. But we have to go through this pain to revitalise the squad. It's just, it's going to be a really bittersweet moment because, and the one thing, I have no animosity to Marcus. I have a very long DM list of people telling me stories about him, right? Some of which we mentioned on the pod last week, which seems to have been double or triple confirmed, like some stuff outside of football. But physically, he looks amazing. He's been training all summer. I don't know whether you see the picture drop today. He's looks built, like ripped. Looks like a boxer. I hope that doesn't slow him down, because one of his big things is his speed. He should do very well at Barcelona in the type of football they play.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Much better in settled possession than people give him credit for. I mean, look at the 60-yard pass he played in the cup final 18 months ago and all of that, or whenever it was, 2 years ago now. Whenever it was. So I think he will do well there. Hansi Flick's a great coach. I hope he does well for him. But of course, he should be doing well for United, and it's mostly on him, a little bit on Ten Hag, that it's not worked out.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be amazed if he didn't score 25 goals for them next season across all competitions. He's, especially in a league like that, which is very open. You don't get teams who are going to play in a low block, and I think sometimes he does struggle in that at times. But the space that he's going to be able to run into on the counter, because Barcelona, because the midfield are so quick at moving the ball, they are able to turn the game around so quickly. You think to how many goals that Rafinha and 𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄 scored last season by that just direct running down the wings, and yeah, maybe he won't start every game because of the aforementioned Rafinha, 𝐓𝐄𝐄, and then Lewandowski. But Lewandowski's is still a really, really top striker even at his age. It's crazy how he's been able to keep going like that. But he's
15 years of maintaining that level is incredible.
Unbelievable. But he's going to probably drop off more and more. So there are going to be chances for Rashford through the middle, Rafinha potentially through the middle as well. And I think that three, and if you just kind of think about it in your head, it's really deadly. And he was great at Villa last season. There were obviously he got injured and he didn't actually score that many goals, but you watch his general play, he was excellent. He had that intensity. There were loads of rumours around his physicality before he went to Villa, he's lost it, he's not got that burst, he's not got that pace anymore. Absolutely, you saw none of that. His pressing was excellent. And you just know that when he goes to Barcelona, he's going to be. There's no surprise that he's in the shape he is right now, because this is an absolute dream for him. It's the thing that he's been talking about all summer. He's been getting his agents to talk about, I want Barcelona. So this opportunity is incredible coming for him. You just know he's going to do everything he can to make it work. And it is going to be so bittersweet, because I again wish him no harm. I really, 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 really want him to do well. But if we're seeing him score every single week, and he's bagging 6 in a row, and then he scored in the Champions League quarter-final, and we're there with Rasmus Højlund missing 3 or 4, well, not even getting a shot in goal in a game, which is probably going to be likely, when we roll around to April next year. I don't want to feel bitter towards him in that, and I don't want to think, this could be us without him. But it just feels, this is what sometimes happens in football. It doesn't happen that often to United. We don't often lose our best academy players and they go and thrive abroad. It's happening more and more. but it doesn't usually happen. So I guess there's that part of me, that humane part of me, that really, really does want to see him succeed. But then there's that United fan of me that's going to go, oh man, I wish he was doing this in red.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope the off-field issues will be resolved by moving abroad. I would be disappointed if I saw a lot of his entourage in some, poolside villa or wherever he's going to be living for next year. It's focused on the football, working Hansi Flick's system, find a role in the team, whether it's at number 9 or off the left, rotation with Rafinha. There's still rumours that Barcelona may cash in on Rafinha. I mean, he scored so many goals last season, they'd be mad to, but it's with their financial issues, another way of raising cash. So who knows exactly, but he'll get plenty of games. I thought he worked up with Villa, and he was just getting to a boiling point with Villa where he got that injury. He didn't look fit initially, I thought, at least, which is not a surprise really. He just didn't play much football, did he? And so now he should be fit. He had that time, he's overcome his injury, he's had a whole summer of training, looks ripped, is hungry for it. I would not be surprised at all if it goes well for him, and I really hope it does. And I find it very odd where there's a bunch of United fans that hate him for some reason. I'm trying to wonder, what is it that you hate? The academy player that did well, you hate the fact that he got a massive contract? Well, why would he turn it down? So people didn't like his body language. We all became body language experts. It only ever seems to apply to black players. I'm not saying everyone's a racist before everyone drops into my DMs and say, oh, that's you all say that, Ed. I'm just like, the coded language started coming out, which I'm like, why? What is there to hate about a young academy player doing well for Manchester United? But there's a very large selection of people, especially online, that seem to feel like that.
Yeah, and it was there, like at Villa as well, when he got injured. People are kind of saying the same thing, but like before that PSG game, he was also amazing in that PSG game at Villa Park. I remember Donnarumma making an unbelievable save to his left in the second half. But the fact that he, in maybe 7 or 8 games, had ousted Ollie Watkins in every big game that they were playing, just also really annoyed me that he was playing through the middle, and I was, why couldn't he play that there for us? And Ollie Watkins, maybe we were apparently after him this summer, like Arsenal were after him last summer. Like, Ollie Watkins is still a fantastic footballer, and the fact that Rashford on a loan spell had ousted him so quickly just shows,
because he's just a better player.
It's not even not even a debate.
I did like that interview with Amadou Onana, who is basically like, you can just see from his touch that he's at the elite level. Look, I hope it works out for him. It's bittersweet. I didn't seem like there was a personal issue with Amorim. The way Amorim talked about him was that they couldn't see eye to eye on football, not that his off the field issues are causing me problems, I just want him out, right? So it's maybe some of this will come out in the wash. There's sort of bits and pieces, but not the full picture. Who knows? I'm sure in the fullness of time Marcus will have regrets about, he should have been a hometown hero. He should have been one of the top 5 ever goal scorers for United. He's just spent his entire career at the club. He should have made 700 appearances and scored 250 goals for the club, but that is not going to happen, sadly. And in time he'll have some regrets and maybe some bitterness. He had that brilliant season, then Ten Hag decided to play a season without a left back and ask Marcus to do all the defensive covering, and play to your strengths, not your weaknesses, and Ten Hag did the exact opposite after Rashford had his best ever career season. Made no sense to me, but and maybe that was part of the reason why Marcus was unhappy. Maybe it's the off the field stuff, who knows. Fresh start for everybody, but a lot of what ifs.
So many.
All right, we'll leave it there. You can catch us on patreon.com/NQAT Pod if you want to get our backers show. I'm not sure what we're doing this week. I'll have to find time for one. Or on Apple Podcast subscriptions. Catch us on YouTube if you're not watching us. And if you are, we're on all the apps. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. See you soon, everyone. Bye now.